Welcome back, folks, to another edition of #AskGSM, the weekly Monday mailbag video where I answer your questions from Facebook and Twitter right here in this video forum. And of course, if you want to send in a question, make sure to like my official Facebook page at GrahamGSMMatthews, drop a comment on the wall, or tweet me on Twitter with the #AskGSM. Without further ado, let's get to this week's questions. First one comes from Jared J. from Facebook. His question is, thoughts on the Over the Edge pay-per-view 1999 being a part of the WWE Network? Now, there was some controversy as to whether this pay-per-view would be actually aired on the network, and WWE is promoting this as every pay-per-view would be all uncensored content, unsanctioned, everything will be aired. However, they issued a press release over the weekend saying that this event will indeed be edited due to the fact that it was the host of the show, that it was the show that Owen Hart passed away at. Owen Hart? What did I say? Owen Hart? Owen Hart, I'm sorry. Owen Hart passed away at earlier on in the show. Before it went live, and they made several references to him throughout the show, and of course a lot of people don't want to have to go through that, so I do not blame WWE at all for editing it. I'm not really sure if they're going to be having an uncensored version with the footage and then without the footage, probably just without the footage altogether, which is completely fine by me. Of course, I wasn't a wrestling fan at the time. I was only 4 years old when the pay-per-view aired, so I personally have no connection to the incident. I know a lot of people that were fans at the time do, and they don't want to go through that again. They don't want to relive it. Very traumatizing experience, so I don't blame WWE, and I think it's a smart decision. Thomas B. asked, do you think WWE is trying to erase CM Punk like they have done to Chris Benoit? Very funny that you mentioned that. There was a meme going viral, I think, last week. It was a picture from when Benoit and Punk tag team on an episode of ECW, like 07 or something, and Benoit is fine, but then they have CM Punk. They have his face blurred out. I thought that was pretty funny. But even still, I don't think they're trying to erase CM Punk. It's not like he did anything bad. I mean, he walked out of the company, but unlike Benoit, he didn't kill her. He didn't kill anybody or anything. You know what I mean? Like, they're still going to show his footage, but since he's not with the company, they're not going to promote him. That's why they took him off the power rankings. They took him off everything on their website, except for the fact that he's still listed as a superstar. So if they were trying to completely erase him, then they would have done that a long time ago. But because of the fact that he's still under contract, they're not trying to erase him completely because they're trying to get him back. So I don't blame WWE for getting rid of him in like their opening intro and stuff like that. I only blame them for not acknowledging his absence. And there were reports going around that they might do it by July, which I think is pointless. I mean, 6 months later, no one's going to care anyway. I think they should do it as soon as possible to silence the CM Punk chance to the best of their ability. But no, I don't think they're trying to erase him. They're just kind of drown him out, so to speak, just a bit, because he's not currently on television, so why would you continue to promote him? His merchandise sales are through the roof. Not as high as John Cena's, of course, but he is a number 2 merchandise seller in the company, so they're not going to get rid of that merchandise just yet. Zach D asks, any content you want to see on the WWE Network? At the Average Grunt from Twitter also asked a similar question on top 10 pay-per-views I would like to watch on the WWE Network, so a lot of network questions in this week's video. I own a lot of the pay-per-views I would like to rewatch, like Money in the Bank 2011, TLC from 2012, what else? SummerSlam from 2013. Those are my favorite pay-per-views in recent years. Obviously, a lot of pay-per-views I wasn't around to watch, like WrestleMania 17, the single greatest, arguably, WrestleMania of all time, Bash at the Beach from 96, when Hulk Hogan turned heel, all these classic moments and stuff like that. So I'm going to go back and relive that stuff. But even though someone asked me an interesting question a number of weeks ago, will I continue to purchase WWE DVDs even though the network's coming out? Probably. If it's a documentary, then maybe. I don't know if WWE is going to have documentaries on the network. I'd be surprised if they did. But I'm not really sure. Probably if it's a documentary, but if it's like a pay-per-view, probably not, because they're going to be offering it on the network for free. So, yeah, those are some of the pay-per-views I would like to watch. I can't really name 10 right off the bat. But maybe WrestleMania 24, I really like that WrestleMania. But a lot of old school footage that I wasn't around to watch, live. Andre G asked, what do you think on Alex Riley being a part of the Real Americans if Antonio Cesaro turns face? Interesting scenario. Alex Riley has been on TV for years. I'm personally a huge fan of Alex Riley. He's been down in NXT and Superstars and Main Event doing commentary. So at least he's appearing on television on a regular basis somewhat. Not an in-ring active role, but of course as a commentator, so he's an on-air personality, which is good. As far as turning him into a heel and putting him in the Real Americans, I'm not really sure. Personally, I love him as a babyface, so maybe I'm just being biased here, but I think he works perfectly as a babyface. He got good reactions when he turned face about 3 years ago. It would at least give him something to do, so I would definitely be open to the idea. But if Cesaro breaks away from the Real Americans, should they continue it? Probably not. And that's the thing, too, because it looks like Jack Swagger is going to be the one to turn face, not Cesaro, which I think is a major mistake. I think Cesaro should be the one to turn face, not Swagger. But I was thinking at one point Leo Kruger from down in NXT, because I know he and Cesaro had some history and stuff like that. I would have liked to see that, but I think he's turned into Adam Rose now, so that's not going to work. Maybe even still bring him up to the main roster in that role. I'm not really sure. Maybe Alexander Rusev. I know he's from Bulgaria, but, even still, Cesaro's from Sweden, Switzerland, whatever. So it doesn't really make a difference. But even still, I'd be open to the idea, but I don't know. Maybe there's other people that could fill the role better. I would love to see Alex Riley on television, but, even still, after Cesaro turns face, maybe you just break up the group altogether. Because Cesaro and Swagger just have such great chemistry together that it's going to be hard for anyone else to fill that position. Paul S.F., do you think Will Pac, a.k.a. Adrian Neville, will get a great push once he's called up to the main roster? Will they possibly build him up as an AJ Styles-like wrestler? Interesting question. Adrian Neville, his mic skills have improved a lot in the last few months with his feud with both Dallas and Corey Graves, and he's consistently cutting promos on NXT, so at least his mic skills have improved quite a bit since then. Do I see him getting a big push when he's initially called up? Probably not. And Sami Zayn probably won't either, due to their size. And I mean, you could say CM Punk, you could say Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, all these guys that have gotten pushes over the years. But there was a report that was circulating not too long ago that was saying that WWE already has enough indie talent, they already have enough small wrestlers, which is why they're not hiring anymore. I guess that's maybe why the Wolves, the American Wolves from ROH, weren't hired by WWE a few short months ago. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him not pushed when he gets up to the main roster. I really hope he is. But I'm not holding my breath because Pac has that he's one of the smallest wrestlers on the roster in NXT, smaller than Daniel Bryan. He's a small guy, so I'm not really sure if he's going to get a big push. Maybe he's an underdog-like wrestler, but it's really hard to say. Like an AJ Styles-like wrestler, because remember Styles, his mic skills aren't the greatest either. But I don't know. That was TNA, and TNA was more wrestling-oriented, or at least sometimes, or at least it was when AJ Styles first started with TNA. So WWE and TNA are completely different in that aspect, and he's going to need a character. So it's just really hard to see him, not in the main event, but even in the upper mid-card in WWE on the main roster. Adrian Neville, that is. So only time will tell, and I hope he gets called up as soon as possible so we do see him in some sort of a push or program or whatever. Ross S. asked, do you think this year's WrestleMania has higher expectations than previous WrestleManias due to turning 30? Absolutely. This is the 30th anniversary. WrestleMania 10, WrestleMania 20 were both great, so a lot of people are looking for WrestleMania 30 to be much the same. It's different this year than past years because I think WrestleMania 29 was so bad it sucked to the point where it was terrible. It wasn't terrible, I shouldn't say. I think 27 was worse. 29 was just disappointing. It just felt like a 3-hour Raw, or 4-hour Raw, I should say. So in that sense, I think the expectations this year are definitely higher. Because last year's show was so terrible, and a lot of people are expecting this show to be a lot better, and because it's a WrestleMania 30, it's the 30th anniversary, Batista's going to be there, reportedly Hulk Hogan, and many others. So a lot of people are looking for this to be a great show, and as of right now, I'm not sure it feels that way with the road to WrestleMania the way it's going in the last few weeks. Hopefully it heats up after Elimination Chamber, because right now I'm not all that excited for WrestleMania in a few short months. The Average Grin, I already answered your question earlier on. At 2000 Awesome, his first question is, what matches do you think we'll see at WrestleMania, bearing Cena versus Wyatt and Orton versus Batista? Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, I think, is a very big possibility since both of them will reportedly be on the show after Elimination Chamber. Lesnar will be there, Taker will be there, so maybe you can set up some sort of program at that show. What else? Cody Rhodes versus Goldust, I hope we finally get at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose, with or without Seth Rollins, to make it a triple threat match, preferably for the U.S. title. I don't really think it makes a difference at this point because the U.S. title is completely worthless at this point in time. But I see Roman Reigns breaking away from the Shield at some point in the next month or so after they go through the Wyatt family at Elimination Chamber and come up short. That's my prediction for that match. And what was the other match? Oh, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H. It looks like we're getting that at WrestleMania. Though I can't really be sure, because they teased that after CM Punk left, because Punk was, of course, originally scheduled to face Triple H at WrestleMania. And then he left, and it looked like they replaced Bryan in his place. So, that being said, I hope we get Triple H versus Bryan, with Bryan getting the victory. If not, it's a complete waste of time. And if they go with Bryan versus Kane instead, I'd be extremely disappointed. So maybe they just give us Bryan versus Kane in an episode of Raw, because of course we're not getting that at the Chamber, because Bryan is in the Chamber match. So that being said, hopefully we do get Triple H versus Bryan at WrestleMania instead of Bryan versus Kane. So those are my predicted matches for the big show. And his final question is, who do you think is the best heel and best babyface in WWE and TNA in the past or present? I can't really say the past because, obviously there's tons of them. But I will say in the present, the best faces right now, WWE, Daniel Bryan by far. He is the epitome of what a babyface should be. He gets the biggest reactions on the roster. The crowd is heavily behind him. And he is the ultimate underdog in WWE right now. So I would definitely say that he's the best babyface in WWE. TNA is kind of hard to say because their roster has really dwindled as of late. Jeff Hardy's gone for the time being. AJ Styles left. Sting left. So there's a big gap there as far as top babyface. I would say right now Samoa Joe. Kurt Angle, maybe. I think he's a close second. Jeff Hardy's still under contract, of course, but he's not on TV, so I can't really say him. But I'd have to go with Samoa Joe, because he's the #1 contender to the TNA title right now. He's been improving his work as of late as far as mic skills. His matches have been getting gradually better in the last few weeks. He's kind of been slowly more motivated week by week, so I'm glad to see that. Because for the last year or so, he's been doing nothing and been wasted away in the mid-card and crap like that. So I would say he's the #1 babyface in TNA right now. As far as best heel in WWE, the Wyatt family's pretty awesome. Randy Orton sucks right now, so I can't say Randy Orton. I don't know, maybe the Wyatt family. I guess I'd have to go with the Wyatt family. And as far as TNA, I'm probably leaving someone out. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking this off the top of my head. As far as TNA goes, I love Magnus, but he's being booked so shitty right now. I can't even say him. So maybe Magnus. I don't really know, honestly, because like I said, the roster's dwindled a lot. Maybe Bully Ray, too. Bully Ray's pretty great. So, yeah, I guess I'd go with Bully Ray over Magnus, because Magnus is being portrayed as a cowardly heel right now. So, regardless, those are all your questions for this week, guys. If you want to send in a question again, you can tweet me on Twitter with the hashtag AskGSM at WrestleRant, or you can like my official Facebook page at GrahamGSMMatthews. Just drop a comment on the wall, and then your question will be featured on next week's show. So with all that being said, thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe as well. And until next time, this is GSM signing out.